Perfect, and we're all set here. So let's start with me sharing. For this purpose, I'll just share my entire screen, so you'll get to see what I see. Welcome to the Training Center orientation. Our agenda is to get through the value of Training Center, a feature review, which consists of content sharing, high-quality videos, video sharing, breakout sessions, administers tests, visual attention indicators, quick response tools, a threaded Q&A, polling, network-based recording, hybrid audio options, reporting and assessment, e-commerce and LMS integration. We may just touch on those briefly. The final two I'm in. So the Cisco WebEx Training Center is an online training solution. Lets you deliver highly interactive, live instructions to any user, anywhere with web access. It features innovative real-time tools such as high-quality video and breakout sessions to actively engage learners and enhance retention. It also allows you to simultaneously slash costs, extend audience reach, and provide a more impactful learning experience. Some of the challenges with online instructions is making sure that the class is effective. Is it effective enough? Knowing and making sure that your learners are engaged, and measuring the knowledge retention. Interactivity, making sure that it's interactive and not a one-way conversation. And then this helps to build rapport between the instructors and learners as well. That's what the polling and feedback is for. Material comprehension, and we want to make sure that you're ensuring that your learners are getting it and retaining the information after the class is ended. And then participant availability, being able to schedule a meeting, making sure there's no schedule conflicts, and the ability of special guests, instructors, or presenters. In this environment of training center, any attendee, you have the ability to make them a presenter. So that thought alone will always keep your attendees well prepared. Some of the features, content sharing, just like what I'm doing here. I'm sharing my actual desktop so you could view my entire screen, but if you want, you could share individual files, including video files that are stored on the computer. You could share a particular application. So with us using PowerPoint right now, I could have actually just shared the PowerPoint presentation from the PowerPoint app instead of the desktop. So there's definitely some variety here. You have the option to share like a whiteboard, which is similar to a dry erase board, and web content, web browsers, and web content will consist of URLs and such. Did I receive a notice? I'll take that as a no. Okay. And then you can remote your computer and then share the session window as well. High quality video, 360p resolution, up to 6 video thumbnails at a time. You can scroll through to see more. So everyone that's using video, you have the ability to see them engage when their video is active on their end. You can lock in on a presenter or a participant. The video quality is self-adjusting, which typically happens with the quality of the network that you're on. If it's a slower network, the quality of the video is reduced to help prevent any jittering and stutters. Display flexibility, theater mode, full screen mode, and thumbnails. And then we also use webcam and video cam. And then there's also real-time video sharing, which goes along with the video files that's saved on the computer, and then video links such as YouTube links can also be shared in this environment as well. We also incorporate breakout sessions. These sessions allow you to brainstorm and collaborate in smaller groups than the actual overall attending group. It promotes active participation and learning. And then in those breakout sessions, you can share documents, presentations, whiteboards. You can have sub-conference audio, so the audio feature will still be active within that particular group. Manual or random assignment of attendees to a session, so you have the ability when you create your session to already pre-assign the attendees. You have the ability in the session to manually assign the attendees, or you could just select a random order. You could broadcast messages to all breakout sessions, and then you could present content from the breakout session, so any documents or things that were shared in that session and collaborated on, you could then, when you go back to your full session or the full training, you could request that the presenter from that session share that information with the entire group. And also the instructors or the host have the ability to wander across breakout sessions, so you can enter and exit each session at your choosing. And then there's an integrated test engine to where you could create your own tests, whether it be multiple choice, single answer, essay answer, fill in the blank, and however you want your test, you have the ability to create it, and you can deliver it before, during, or after the session. There's automated scoring and reporting, and then you could store those scores to your desktop as well. And then there's a quick response tool. There's real-time feedback to trainees, so this gives the attendees the ability to let the instructors know if they're going too slow or too fast. That's what these the rewind and fast forward icons are for. You could say, okay, we've got this, let's kind of get through it, or could you back it up a little bit or slow it down, the information you're presenting is too fast. And then there's a yes or no, which is the check is the yes, the X is the no, or you to basically agree or disagree. You can raise your hand for attention, and then emoticons allows you to at least show how do you feel about the session that's going on at the moment. And then if there's like a verbal yes or no answer, those yes and no's could be counted to indicate, or verbal yes or no question, I'm sorry, those answers could be counted to the instructor so they can see how the class is responding. There's a threaded question and answer section, not to be confused with, but there's also a chat section as well. So the question and answer is really to get the attention of the instructor or panelist. You have a host, a presenter, a panelist, and an attendee. So the host or the panelist is to get their attention to help them or to have any questions answered. And those questions can be answered verbally, and you can give a notice to where if it was responded to as verbal, you can assign to a specific colleague to answer, which is anyone that's in there as a panelist. The panelist role is to more so behind the scenes help with the technology so that the presenter won't have to keep an eye on their lesson and some of the feedback that's going on at the moment. You could defer or dismiss a question, and the questions can also be public and private. Sorry, I went through that list backwards. The polls, you could deliver multiple polls in the session. And again, they're just like the test, multiple choice, single answer, short answer. The answers are tabulated instantly. It shows you the instant reports. It shows the instant poll results, and then it saves those results in a file. Network-based recording is what we're doing right now. I'm recording this session and sending it to our server. Your company also has an assigned server to where the recordings can be stored, and then they can be recalled and played from that server as well. And then you play back as many times as you like. The integrated hybrid audio options, you may have seen this when you called into the session. You have the option of using a toll-free number, a toll number, or a just VoIP audio, which is voice over IP, which is using computer-based audio. If you use computer-based audio, you will have to use a headset with a microphone and speakers. Rich reporting and assessment. You have the ability to have registration, attendance and attention, polling, sessions delivered and recorded, session registration. All of those could be given to you in a report after the session. There's e-commerce. I was told in the previous session that you more than likely won't use this, but if necessary, if the training requires a payment, you're able to set that up and collect the payment beforehand from your attendees. And then the LMS integration, just syncing up and collaborating with different learning functions. And so the WebEx facilitates the integration, and the integration can be performed by Cisco Advanced Services or your LMS partner. And I believe you may have access to one of these tools that we're getting more details for the last session. And then that's the Q&A. So again, we'll save Q&A to the end. What I want to show you here now is just a little bit of hands-on before you actually even join a session. So before you join a session, the first thing you'll have to do is schedule one, and this is what the scheduler looks like in terms of training center. You start off by setting your tab to the training center tab. You'll see some of the others up here. So you'll select the Training Center tab. It could start you with joining a session that's already in place, but we want to schedule a training session. So from here, we'll click Schedule Training, and then we'll go through the different things that you'll need. The first thing, which is required information, is a topic, and then there is a system-generated password here, which can be changed to a password of your choosing if you prefer. You have the ability to have over 500 attendees in a session. That's your choice. If you know that you're going to have over 500, you'll click here just so that our internal systems will be prepared for that hefty of a session. You could choose to automatically delete the session after it's over. This is recommended if no testing or information that you're going to need to collect after the session is required. If there is testing or if you have polling that's done, once that session is automatically deleted, that information goes with it. So keep that in mind. If not, then you can just have the session done with and over with so that no one else is trying to access the session while it's over. And then you can select to send a copy of the attendee invitation to yourself. This is just so you can have one on file or just to verify that the attendee did receive it. And if not, you could forward it back to them with their personal names and information and requests. that was in their particular email. This is where you also set up the session fee and payment. And once that information is set there, you can also set up a promotional code to provide a discount to the session as well. The audio conference setting, this is where you would choose how you would like the attendee to have audio access. That's where the toll-free numbers or the dial-in numbers come in. With me being a Cisco employee, I have access to the WebEx audio services, but more than likely with you guys, if you have a partner account, like some have an account where another telephony company takes care of the audio portion, you will see those options in there for you to select as well. Or you can use voice over IP only, which everybody would then use computer audio based off their particular network connection. And then there's an option to mute attendees upon entry. No one was muted. I believe people muted themselves. I didn't have this option selected, but if so, as soon as you would have came into the training center, you would have been muted, and it would have been my option to unmute you. And then there's an entry and exit tone. I believe I did set a tone, a beep, and that's what we're hearing. I'm not sure if you guys hear it, but throughout the session I can hear it in my ear for people that may be entering and exiting. And from there, you can set up the date and the time. You can set up how far before can the attendee join the meeting from the scheduled time. You could do up to 30 minutes. And then attendees, everybody could connect to audio conference. That's if you're planning on having people be able to present and talk to the rest of the training class. And then if you know that this class may occur frequently, even monthly, you can set this up to occur as frequent as you like. Estimated duration is keyword estimated. It's not a hard stop time. It's just to bring some structure to your training. In-session hands-on labs are computer lab stations that are reserved for this session. I have no abilities to set a computer lab station. This is something that your IT department will have integrated with the WebEx system, to where if there were particular lab stations required, you can go ahead and reserve those with your session. Registration. You can require attendees to register. What happens is it becomes a three-step email process versus a one-step email is when I sent out the invitation, or Theodora sent out the invitation to you. All you had to do was use the password and information in that invitation to access this session. If registration was required, you would have had a form to fill out, your name and your email address. More than likely, there can be some additional information that's requested for that, and then from there, once we receive your registration, we could then allow for you to have access to the meeting, and that's where you would have received the link and the password to the actual session. Registration. And if you want, this customized form is showing the information that's required: first name, last name, email address. Everything else is if you prefer. And then you can save it. And I believe, yeah, you can save that as a template as well, so that if you're doing frequent registrations, you could just draw back on this template. So you have the ability to invite attendees, and with registration, you can exclude the password. You have the option to exclude the password to make sure that you get people to register before they actually join the session. require attendees to sign in with a single sign-in authentication before the session. This is just a special name and password if you want to set one of those up as well. You have the ability to designate presenters beforehand. This is just pre-based information. So if you know that you're going to request someone to present a document or something in the training session, you can have that person pre-selected and send them a presenter's invitation rather than just an attendee's invitation. You are not locked into those particular presenters once your session starts. You have the ability to select a new presenter at any time throughout the session, or if you want to take that presenter privilege away from someone and just put them as an attendee, you have the ability to do that as well in the session. And then you can set up a greeting. All of this shows is the options that are available to you in the session. If you want to take any of them out, you have the ability to do so. Like if you did not want the chat box in your panel, or if you weren't planning on doing any polls, you can have that removed from the session. And then the breakout session assignment settings. From here, this is just assigning the particular attendees to their to the session. You could select to have it automated, or you can manually separate these attendees before the session. And again, you have the ability to manually separate the attendees during the session as well. Here, this set number is 4. I believe there was a question about this in our previous session that I was able to get an answer for, Theodora. You can have 100 breakout sessions with up to 100 attendees per session. So you can have a very hefty training session broken down into a little less in this breakout sessions, but still containing a lot of people with a lot of sessions. And then this email edit or email option provides you the option of the information that you want to include in your invitation email. It could be plain text or HTML. HTML, just add the logos and such. And then if you want to put a picture into your invitation as well, you have the ability to do so. Course material. It's just different documents that you may have that you're going to share with the session. You have the ability, I believe it's up to 10 documents you can have shared as soon as the session opens. They'll all have their own individual tabs in the content viewer, and you could choose to have them shared as soon as the session opens, or you can share them at your own time throughout your session. The test, we had some questions previously about the test, but you could set up your test and you can actually start it from scratch. You can either use a template that's already have been used, so if there's a test that you've already had set in your WebEx, it's saved there. You could start with that test as a basis and then build from it if you want to add to or delete, or you could just create an entirely new test. And the way that you do that is if you go to the test library. Here, all of these tests are from Cisco throughout the years. You can see this one is dated from 2010. But people more than likely have started these tests back then, and then if the information isn't relevant anymore, remove that information and add it to that test, and then saved it again so they can have a more up-to-date instance. You have the ability to do this as well. If you want to start from a template, you can select a template and then and then build on it or take away. Or if you just want a completely new test, you'll go all the way down to the bottom of your list. I don't believe your list would be as long as mine, but you can go create new tests right here. You can actually import a test that requires a specific format, and if we want more information on that, I can get that. But you can create a new test. You'll put in the test description. You can set the maximum of points that could be received. You can assign a grade to the to a specific point structure, and then you could select to have all the questions on one page or one question per page. And from here down in this lower right corner, you can select the blue to insert question. And from here we see that the options that you have available to you as a question, which you have multiple choice, essay, fill in the blank, instructions, multiple response, to where you can have multiple answers, and then true and false. And you'll put in your question, you'll put in your answer, you'll select which one is the correct answer, and then save. And from there, this is how you begin to build your own test. I'll just let's do this, and then you can put in, make sure you have the correct answer selected. You can save, and now we see down here at the bottom we have our question in play. I can assign points to this question, so if you don't want all of the points to be like an equal amount of points to each question, you can then put that structure there so that if it's a harder question, that it has more points allotted to it. And then you can put in scoring guidelines as well, just so the system can better score the question through its automated system. And then there's an insert question at the bottom, insert question at the top. No matter which one you select, you'll still have the ability to line up your questions in the order that you prefer. And then, so I can save this, and I can go, please specify a valid score. So this is 100% of our test right here. I'll save it. And I've been practicing this, so here we go again. You'll see it's a private test. It's up here in my options. And then you can select that for your let me see, for your session. Yeah. And then you have the ability to delete it as well. You can edit it, duplicate it, share it, and delete it. And this is all that you'll do before you start your session to get everything set. And then it takes us to where we are now in our session. So right now, let me see. Perfect. So we're all in the training session, but currently I am sharing my session window. So as the host, this is what you will see in your session window. Up to the top left, we have what is called our menu. This is just the menu section up here. Below that, this is our content viewing section. It gives you the quick start options. So if you just got connected with video and did not actually call in just yet, or you skipped past the number mistakenly, you always have the ability to go back and get this information. But with me using it, it's telling me that I am connected, I am using the phone, and I have the option to leave the audio portion of this conference. If there's someone that was left out of your initial invitations, or you want to, someone is supposed to be in the session and they're not there, you have the ability to invite the new person, or send the previous person that received the invitation a reminder that this session is going on at the time. And then you have the quick option to share the different options that you have available to you. Again, at the moment, I am sharing my application, which specifically is my content window, but you have the ability, again, to share files, share particular applications, and then there are some more options up here in the actual share menu. So if we just start with this menu, the menu section, in the file section, this is where you can open and share applications. Again, this is just another way to share your screen or applications. You can open your poll questions if you have the poll questions that were already pre-selected before the session started. You can open your chat box, which is our chat box is currently open. This is where you can save any documents, poll questions, poll results, chat, or Q&A that's in our session. And then you have the save as option if you're saving it for the first time. This transfer is to transfer to a new presenter. I'll confirm that. Upload to my WebEx. I will have to confirm that as well. You can print your documents, your chat, your Q&A, and then you can end the session from here. Anything with edit is anything. This menu is to do with anything in your content section. So with your content section, if there's any changes that were made to any of the documents in a collaborative effort, this is where you'll undo, redo. You can add a page, paste as a new page, which is a new tab. Annotations on, meaning that you can actually write over the document or highlight any sections, and then you could make any changes to this in the personal preferences. Personal preferences, join or leave, communications. Yeah, so just the beep sounds that play when things are going on in the session. The share, this is another section that we have to show that you can share your different items. You can share desktop, you can share video applications, whiteboard, a web browser, where you can remote into a computer. And this is where I went to show you my window as the host. I went to share my session window. Anything in this views menu deals directly with what's selected at the time in the content viewer section. I have no documents here, but if I did load one, it will open up and allow me to zoom and rotate and all of that good stuff. Here, 1 second, I'll see if I can load one really quickly. All right, perfect. So I loaded another presentation. This is actually our meeting center presentation. So as we can see here, as soon as I load this, these options become available to show that I can zoom in and zoom out. And then up here in this section is where you can add text to the selection. You can actually write in and even highlight the different things that you want to bring to someone's attention. And this is just annotating the document. And if you want to go to the edit to undo, you can undo those annotations. And then this is where we could save the document. And then if you wanted to close, as a host, if I close this tab and remove this document, we can see that this is informing us that it'll remove from everyone's view, and see if you would like to continue. And if you're done with that part of your lesson, you can select yes. Actually, you want to save the document, you save. I just put no there, but not to save it. Audio, it deals with the audio portion. Again, this is the same option that we had in our quick start view about my current status for audio with this training session. And then this is where the individual participant options are. These aren't selected because I do not have an individual selected, but if I did, I could choose to mute or to unmute, or just for the overall group, you can mute all, unmute all, and then mute on entry just for the overall group. So that option that we had in our session setup to mute on entry, if once you're here and you're started and you forgot to select that option, you still have it here in the actual training session, along with the invite and remind, assign privileges, and then you could change. This is where you will change the roles. So if there was someone that's an attendee, like right now I have Theodora as an attendee, but if she wanted to take over and present some things in this session, I can make her a presenter, I can make her a panelist, or I can just let her assume the role of handling the entire session and make her the host, to where if I had to leave, I could leave the session and without closing out the entire session. You get find participant, which is a search, and then you can expel. I didn't. Ugh. Yeah, you can expel. I'm sorry. I think it's funny that this option is here, but wow, yeah, you can expel. So in the session menu, just information about your session, showing who the current host is, the current presenter. We have the participants. We have the numbers that are assigned to this training session. So if anyone wants to call in, you have that on hand. Audio and video statistics. It shows that the video, the latency, if there's any jitter, the resolution right now that we're using. Just video information. Audio information would be available if we were on a internet-based call, but because we are using our telephone numbers, that information isn't necessary here. It's not being tracked here or kept here. Here you have the recording options here. This is where you set up a greeting message. Your session options is what features do you want to enable or disable. So in that setup, in the training center setup that we went through, if you selected to not have the chat in that setup, and once you get into the session you find that the chat would have been very useful You don't have to go without it. You could go ahead and reactivate it right here. True color is just dealing with resolution and video, and import mode is just how the documents are imported into the session. And then this here is the breakout sessions. If you wanted to open, so this open breakout session panel takes us to the panel section over here, to where you can actually see where the breakout sessions, like the different assignments and the different attendees in those sessions. And then, because we don't have anything started, we don't have any breakout sessions currently, these options aren't available. But to create a breakout session assignment, you'll select this here. We can see that we have the 3 attendees in our session. What you could do is add a session, the breakout session number 1. You could select a person and move them over to that session. So I can either move everyone that's in via video to the same breakout session, or I can leave a breakout session of 1 and then add a new session, and then make sure that this option is selected, or make sure that the session has the blue bar that you want to make the selection for, and then from there you'll select the user, then assign or unassign them to that particular session. Me as the host, I'm technically a panelist as well. I can assign myself to a session. Now, one thing with this, because you are the host, if you assign yourself to a session and you assign yourself as the presenter, you're going to have to stay in that session until it's completely closed out. You have to keep an eye on this. If you're assigning yourself to a session and you are assigned as the presenter, and the presenter is assigned first, you would have to, and if you wanted to exit that session as the host, you would have to completely close it out. The best thing to do would be not to assign yourself as the host or a panelist to a session, so that this will allow you to go in and out of the different sessions. So with me being out of the session, once I start these sessions, I can insert myself into either one at any time. So what I'll do is I'll select OK. We have our sessions. Yeah, so they should be started at this point. So what I could do here, actually no, they're not started, I'm sorry. So and okay. Breakout session. I'm sorry, 1 minute. We have our assignments. That's okay. Oh no. I think I may know the reason why here. Yeah, so I couldn't start the breakout sessions because I was sharing my screen. Yeah. Well, I was sharing my perfect. I was sharing my session window, which allows you to see the host view. So because I'm sharing, I couldn't start the session, and it's looking like I'm not going to be able to share from this point to go into the breakout sessions. Let me see. Yeah, no. So we just ran into an unexpected event. So I can't, when I'm sharing my content viewer or sharing my session window, that is called. When I share my session window, I can't start this breakout session because it's technically like I'm showing you something, so we can't override that. But what will happen is this breakout session button will turn blue for start, and once you select this, it will send all of the attendees and their respective sessions to their individual collaboration spots. So
I'm just wondering, what would be the difference with you then sharing your desktop?
if I share my desktop, it completely negates the WebEx meeting. So if I'm, so it doesn't even show the WebEx meeting. It shows my computer.
Okay.
So.
Okay. That's okay though. So we understand what the idea is. So are we going to give it a try to see how it'll work?
Sure thing.
Yeah? Okay.
All right. So I'll stop sharing, and then I will start the breakout sessions, and you will see your screen change. And then I'll go ahead and enter in between the two different sessions.
So Ken, I can see that breakout session 2 has started.
Yeah.
Oh, now 1 has started. Okay.
Yeah. I believe what we were waiting for, there was a confirmation from all users of each session. So the session didn't start until it was confirmed by the 2 users individually. That session is still going, and then all right, perfect. So I've ended all of the sessions. Now, is everyone in the main area now?
Yep.
Perfect. So from here, you can go to the breakout menu, and then at the bottom there's an option to share breakout session content. So it shows the session. You'll select whoever was the last presenter. So the last presenter in breakout session number 1 was Caroline. And I'll send a request for you to share your content. And there it is. And then if I wanted to, or if you want to get further explanation on the inspiration for such a great drawing, we could then make Caroline the presenter and take it from there.
Okay. It was a collaborative effort.
Perfect. Perfect. And then, so the last thing would be just this panel section over to the right. Let me share my session window. The panel section to the right, section to the right. This is where you could. Oh wow, didn't mean to do that. Okay, so this is where you can see the participants. You can see that there's one panelist, and I'm the designated host. We have 3 attendees still with us, and this is where you can see the hand raise, the yes or no, the slow down or go faster, the emoticons to see how the person is feeling. This is for feedback. I didn't put in a feedback test or request in there. This is where you could select the presenter. So the way that you'll do that is you'll highlight the name, and once you click on this, it'll pass this blue and green and white ball over to that particular name, and then that's who will be in charge of presenting during the session until it's passed back. So this list view of the names just shows the names. If everyone was using video, this is where you can see the thumbnails of the individual's videos. Another way to verify if the person is engaged in the training by making sure you see their face in their camera. You can again invite and remind others to join in this section as well. And this is where you would check the attentiveness. It seems like everybody is engaged. I'm happy for this, 100%. And the only thing that the attentiveness is based off of is if your if your computer has the WebEx application as the forefront application. If you switch off and go to the internet browser, only thing that is checking is that, okay, WebEx isn't in the forefront, something else is going on. There's no tracking of information. You will see that someone, yeah.
What did they test?
No, I mean, it's just to see what it would look like. This is great.
I wanted to test it earlier too, so. Oh, you caught me.
We'll close it out. And then if this is, sometimes this section can get very cluttered and confusing. Like it's very cluttered to me right now. So what you could do is, if you want to turn off any of these panel options, like if you don't want to see this participant option, there's two ways you could do that. You can click the X up here to close the panel, or you could click the participant section where it's blue. It changes it to gray, and it closes the panel as well. In the chat, this chat option here. This is where you can see who you can send your chat statements or comments to. It can go to all participants. It can go to all panelists. It can go to the host and the presenter, or host, presenter, and panelists. Basically, just sending it to who's ever in charge here instead of everybody. And then, if I wanted to speak with or chat with an attendee individually as a host, you have the option to do that as well. We know that our recorder is on. You could closing this will not stop your recording. It's just removing it from your view in the panel. And then you have the breakouts. So the participants in the chat and the recorder are the ones that have the icons, but under this arrow, you'll see what else you have available to you. You have Q&A for questions and answers. You can send this privately. Like I can't send it because I'm not asking the question. So, but as an attendee, you could just send into the overall Q&A box, or if you send privately, you should have an option to send to the host, to a panelist, or to the presenter. It's referred to select a panelist as to keep the presenter free from having to watch this section and keep an eye on their yeah, see, I'm already distracted. But I just received a question, is it code where you are? And the answer is definitely yes. Very. I mean, the office is code. I don't think anyone has checked the thermostat and made the adjustment just yet. So even the office is code. So then I could just send it and answer the question overall, or I could send the answer privately, and we'll see that the mode of response, you get more response options that you could do. So send privately doesn't automatically just send your message over. It presents more options to, okay, do you want to confirm that you want to answer this privately? Do you want to defer the question to someone else? And you see, once you click that, there's a standard message. Thank you for the question. Your question will be deferred, but will remain in the queue. A panelist will answer at a later time, or you could just completely dismiss the question. Thank you for your question. The information that you requested cannot be provided by any of the panelists. I'll just put yes. And ask the host. It should be, yeah, I was like, it should be able to stretch this out. You can see that it shows that I answered to me, or to you as the host, if you were in the host position. It shows that you answered, but it also indicates that you did answer this question privately. So Theodora should have the answer. Everyone else would not see that unless I just I have to wait for another question. So you can only answer the question once. And that was her response. So this is great. So we can see that this divider is letting you know, like, this is closed. So question, answer, divider, so that's done. Her response, that's done. So, and then we also have the breakout sessions. Even though our sessions have ended, you can still see where the assignments are for the breakout sessions. You can click breakout assignment, to reassign the attendees and the panelists. And then again, if I wasn't sharing my screen, I would have the option to select start, and that start button will be blue. You can restore the layout, basically just saying the layout that you had selected when you created the session. That's what you want to see, which is participants and chat. You can hide the panel altogether, or you could manage the panel by showing what you would like to see. Good question here. 1 second. I like to confirm these things. My answer is yes, but let me confirm for you. Andrea in the chat asked, can you pass presenter or host to someone that has no host account on WebEx? Sure, you could pass presenter, host, no, but I'll confirm here. 1 minute. Yeah, that's my answer is correct. You could definitely pass the presenter option to someone without a host account, but you cannot pass the host option without a host account. And then with that, let's open the Q&A. We have about 10 more minutes in this session. Were there any questions?
Yeah. I have a question about what kind of technical requirements the attendees need to join the webinar or join the workshop?
The main thing they would really need, like if they're looking to if they are looking to just listen, a phone, or if they have a computer and they want to actually collaborate in the actual web session, I mean a computer with internet connection and a working email address. As far as any like really technical things, like in general, a computer, internet connection, a phone for dial-in audio, or a headset that connects to the computer with microphone and speakers for voice over IP audio.
No specific requirement for Windows or any kind of computer, right?
No, WebEx it operates on Mac, operates on Windows. I would have to confirm if the training sessions. I know our meeting center is mobile, like you can use like tablets and iPads and such, but I would have to confirm with Training Center if you can go mobile with the Training Center session as well.
Yeah, did you by any chance give up this?
We need a phone, because all we really need is
Yeah, just like
Right. Right. You will have the option to, well, let's say if someone is using WebEx for the first time, they'll have the option to download the actual program, or they'll have the option to use the meeting or join the meeting just from the web link from their browser.
I've got a question. So it looks like the requirements can be kind of broken down into like two categories, the way I look at it. One are the technical requirements, which is the hardware and internet speed and stuff like that. Are there any sort of best practices, guidelines that you would be able to provide? So what I mean by best practices is, you know, having a headset versus using, you know, the onboard speaker, because the headset's going to generally give you better quality. Having, you know, your session in a quiet room. So I'm kind of thinking about things that enhance, but not necessarily are required. Do you sort of have any best practices around those things? I'm just thinking for my students, if we're having sessions or training sessions that there are, you know, the hardware requirements, which is, you know, you need this to be able to get on, and then there's sort of the additional enhancements that would make it, you know, clearer or the meeting goes smoother.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can see firsthand in my video some of the traffic that was going on. A quiet room would be great. I think one of our sessions last week, We were finishing up the session right when the rest of my team was coming back from lunch, so it was a little rowdy during that time. So yeah, definitely a quiet room. The earbuds with a microphone would be great if they plan on presenting, or just a headset in general would be great. My headset is connected to a phone. I also have a headset that connects to the computer with USB, and then the earbuds with the microphone. Just make sure that your computer has the port, the ability in the headphone jack port to bring back a microphone signal as well. Some computers have that, some don't. So and the microphone portion is mainly for, I mean, of course they'll speak to each other in the breakout sessions, but it's really for speaking purposes. That's correct.
But then does that mute out everybody else while they're in the session? Because obviously then you can't hear the chatter amongst everybody. Is that correct? Until you end that session?
What part are you asking? Does it mute out the session?
So let's say they're in the breakout session.
Mm-hmm.
And they have headsets.
Mm-hmm.
It's only the people in the breakout sessions that can hear each other.
Yes, that's correct. It carries over your audio connection to that particular breakout session. So as a host, when I put you all into your individual sessions, I couldn't hear anything because I was still in like the main part of the session. It wasn't until I joined a particular session that I could begin hearing the audio of the individuals that were in there.
And one last thing to confirm, I think in the previous session we said that when students go into the breakout sessions, we're actually not recording what's happening in the breakout session. Correct?
That is correct. There is no recording being done in the breakout session. That's why if you want to have any information that was shared in a breakout session recorded, that's why it's best to go ahead and request as a host for a session presenter to share the content that they had in their session, so that you can then have it on the recording.
And then I've got another question. So I have used WebEx before, but not in the way that you showed me today, which is through you know, an actual meeting where you have to input a lot of registration details and frequency and things like that, and whether you have a breakup session or not. I've used the individual rooms. So I've had office hours with my students where I'll have, you know, Caroline's room or Caroline's sort of private area. So what are the differences between the two, and is there any functional differences that would make it more advantageous for me to schedule something versus have something that is sort of off the cuff?
Yeah, the training center, I'm sorry, not training center, but meeting center is, I would look at that as the basis or the foundation of WebEx virtual platform. The more, once you get into the other center options, the purpose of it becomes more detailed. With your personal room per se, the best advantage that you have to that is a static URL. Your URL never changes. You don't have to worry about sending out invitations every time that you have your office hours. You could just have someone coming to the meeting room, and it's you and that person, and you have the option to lock the room, and so on and so forth. What rooms like Training Center begins to do, it begins to define a purpose. Meeting Center we look at just like office collaboration, like people go into a business meeting, everyone is sharing ideas and things of that nature. Training Center is more of a classroom environment, but I mean, literally in a classroom, people raise their hand and ask a question. Literally in the classroom, you have those breakout sessions. It just gives more definition to the intent. Like, you can technically run a training center session in a meeting center environment, but there are some things that you won't have available to you. Not saying that your meeting won't be successful, but just having those user-defined and specific areas for Q&A, for feedback to show whether to slow down or speed up, or if people agree or disagree. Like, it just helps in that regard.
I see, okay.
Yeah.
So I think we're good on our end. Any other questions?
Nope, I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. It was great that you were able to join us.
Yeah, thank you everyone for allowing me this time with you all. And one thing I express to the other groups is that I am specifically assigned to your account. And if you have any questions at any time, feel free to contact me. I will definitely help out.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure thing. Yeah, have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Theodora. Bye-bye.
Bye.